Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and welcome to our live stream broadcast. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about cognitive journaling. And for those of you who don't know what that is, you're going to find out. Before we do that, though, I just want to remind everybody, and particularly for those that may be new to the broadcast, that we start off just doing some news, views, and updates on our extended family. We sort of have known each other a long time, so we like to update everybody on how everybody's doing. And so then we will get into the main part, the cognitive journaling, in a few minutes. However, if you're watching it on the replay, what I do is I identify out the time that the actual topic starts. So you'll see at the bottom, it'll say 00 to such and such time, news, views, and updates. And then from this time onwards, the topic. And I must admit that last week we had an amazing Friday. We did 2 topics. Hi there, Marie. And we were doing work, and it was just amazing how many people just did pop in and were there. So it's always good to know. We like to give them a little bit of time. So here's the thing. Before we do that, just some thoughts and prayers. First of all, I wanted to make sure that you all know that, excuse me, Jody and Lionel lost their Aunt Beatrice this week. And so our condolences go out to them. And Jody's not feeling very well, so she won't be with us for this broadcast. Hi there, Trish. Good to see you. So Jody won't be with us this broadcast. So if anybody thinks they can be here for the whole time and act as my admin, I'd appreciate it. I wanted to definitely give my thoughts and prayers out to everybody who was in the line of fire of that unbelievable Hurricane Michael. I cannot imagine what it must have been like to leave your home, beautiful, beachside mansion, and then the next day go back and there's nothing left. Talk about downsizing. There's absolutely nothing left. I mean, that to me, not that it was damaged or that it was broken, but that's just nothing left. There's just bare ground where it used to be. I cannot imagine what that must feel like. So I wanted to really say that my hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to all of those people, and goodness knows how long it will take to recover. So whatever you're struggling with today, imagine having that on your plate. I don't know, it just is amazing to me. Wow. Okay. So Marie's saying that her parents were in a town next to where Michael hit, and they were evacuated, but came home and to a house that's okay. Well, I want to tell you, Marie, I am delighted to hear that. The other thing is I wanted to give our grateful thanks to Russia for the way that they build their space rockets. And I say that because I don't know if you saw that on the news, but a rocket went to go and deliver one American and one Russian up to the space station. And the booster rocket failed. And if they had been on an American space shuttle, they would have died. And the interesting thing is the way that the Russians build their rocket, it automatically, I believe, ejects the capsule in which the astronauts are traveling, and comes back to Earth. I'm sure it must be terrifying because it comes back plummeting. And then a parachute deploys and it drops back down to Earth. And it's a pretty hard landing. But the main thing is they're both alive today because they were in the Russian rocket, not in the American one. So I would like to suggest that that's something to be grateful for this week. I have no update on how Leah is. I believe she had an operation this week. So if anybody has one, just let me know. For those of you who are watching again for the first time, please remember that there is a bell, I believe, down here somewhere, which if you click that, it'll tell you when we are going to be going live. The other thing is, I would really recommend, if you haven't done so already, make sure that you follow me on Facebook at DearMamaSal on Facebook. And also on Twitter. And the reason I say that is because if I've got any updates during the week, I'm inclined to drop them onto Facebook primarily. And if it's something that needs to be double done, I will put it on Twitter as well. But normally it goes onto Facebook first. So good idea to support both those if you can, just so you can keep up to date. I wanted to, in terms of birthdays and anniversaries, give a very warm welcome to this world to little baby Lily Rose, who is Beth's new granddaughter that was born on October 10th. And she is the cutest little thing. And so that was really, really cute. And today, I believe, is Juliana's birthday. So actually, Trisha's asking, did I see the royal wedding? Do you know something? No, I didn't. And it's unlike me. You're quite right, Trish. It's unlike me to miss a royal wedding. I don't know why. I've never really connected with Princess Eugenie. But I certainly will watch some replays, I'm sure. I mean, that's the joy of the internet, isn't it? So we wish the Princess Eugenie all the best in her future life as a wedded mum. And presumably she will be a mum. I wanted to also let you know that Oz, I believe there was another tsunami in Indonesia, and it was amazing because, I mean, how many more are they going to have? And, you know, I noticed that Lauren was really concerned because she knew that Oz was on his way there. And luckily, he hadn't left Australia yet. So talking about Oz, I did check with him to make sure that, you know, the earthquake wasn't caused by him landing in Indonesia. That's what I asked him. And I also heard from Farmer this week. For those of you who know Farmer, I wanted to put a big news and congratulations out to Lauren, hi Shah. Lauren did an incredibly amazing thing this week. She met for the first time, as you might have seen on the Facebook page, she met for the first time her biological father and her biological paternal grandparents. And, you know, that's an amazing thing. It's a big risk because you never know how it's going to go. But certainly the pictures that she took spoke 1,000 words. So very, very happy for her. I just wanted to let you know that Farmer sent hugs to everybody that knows him. So just so that you know that. And the other thing is, if any of you have Microsoft 10, there is a new update that happened during the week, and it caused a problem in my audio. And I just in case any of you have Windows 10 and get an audio problem, don't think it's your computer. It's probably Microsoft. Luckily, I have a special package on my computer that with Best Buy, where I pay, you know, a certain amount every month, and it allows me to call them at any time, and they will fix my computer. You know, if it's possible to fix it remotely, they will do so, and they did. But I literally lost the audio on my computer just for no reason at all, and it was really weird. So I just wanted to just let you guys know, if you have that problem, don't blame your computer. It's probably the Microsoft update if you have Microsoft 10 and you've done the update. And so just on terms of one step at a time, I just wanted to let you know, I've spoken to Liz this week, and for those of you who might be worried about her, she's doing fine. She's taking the time she needs to just get herself grounded again. And I'm really delighted to hear that. So our thoughts and prayers go out to Liz as she works through her stuff there. And I'm not sure, Marie, did you go to the gym? You're on my one step at a time. And we will find out if she did. And if there's anybody else that has something that they're trying to deal with this week, would like some accountability on it, just let me know and I'll add it into our one step at a time. Hi there, Jamie. Good to see you. All right. So as I said, Jody isn't here today. She's not feeling very well, and that's most unlike Jody, as you know. So I'm going to be doing my own admin here. Let me just grab a piece of paper so that I can do that. A clean piece of paper would be good. There we go. And so if anybody's got anything they want to add to the news and views and updates, let me know. And we will do a time check for 11 minutes in for the start of the topic. All right, everybody. So we're going to be talking today about cognitive journaling. Before I start, does anybody do it? And while I'm waiting for a reply on that one, just to let you know, in case anybody doesn't know, I'm not a doctor or a therapist or anything else. I'm just a human being who tries to help people understand some of these things that we talk about and perhaps need a little bit more understanding on. So we're going to do a mini workshop, and it would be a good idea if you are somebody that likes to learn to maybe grab a piece of paper and a pencil or whatever it is you want to write with so that you can take notes if you need to. Yes, Charlotte, you're going to find out whether you do or not. So grab a piece of paper and a pencil, and what I'm going to do is explain a few terms first, because I think it's important when we look at this, because it's all put together in little jigsaw puzzles. So first of all, journaling, and some of you probably do that, is when you write about your feelings with intent of identifying. Some of you journal actually just for the fun of writing down what you've done. I don't know if any of you do that, but other people actually journal their feelings. And the reason for doing that is so you can understand what's beneath the feelings. And so you can help yourself identify irrational, negative, or distorted thinking. And that is called cognitive journaling. So it helps you identify and revise your distorted perception and irrational thoughts. Yes, Charlotte's saying it also helps you identify patterns. If you have a pattern of doing this, some of you may have a pattern of going, I don't feel well, when you've got a lot of stress going on that you don't want to face. Yeah. So yes, Charlotte, I had a feeling that you probably had done that. Now, cognitive, which is, 75-cent word, isn't it? A cognitive is basically relating to a mental process. Okay, of your judgment, perception, memory, reasoning, right? All those things. All right, that's cognitive when you're talking about your mind. So the cognitive journaling, therefore, all right, you understand, is journaling your feelings with the intent of identifying anything irrational in terms of perceptions that you might have, and it helps you change them if you want to. All right, if you do the work well. So why should you journal? Now, Charlotte, you're saying that you already do. I know a lot of people say I don't have time to journal. Well, I'd like to suggest that if you're suffering from anxiety, if you're suffering from seeing as it is, Mental Health Week, if you're suffering from anxiety, if you're suffering from an overload of stress, it's a really good idea. If you're trying to solve a problem, it's a really good idea to take the time rather than say I don't have the time, it's a really good idea to make the time. And the reason is that when you do journaling, it helps you sort out what is really going on if you do it with intent, right? It also gives you time, I don't know if you find this, Charlotte, to see both sides of a story. You know, if it gives you time just to write down both sides, not just your side. Yes, Charlotte saying clarity to put thoughts together in a crisis when your mind races. Yes, and that was the next thing actually that I have on my notes here, Charlotte. It says helps slow you down and slow down the anxiety and stress of irrational thinking. Yeah, it helps slow you down because, and by the way, I type at, well over 100 words a minute. So, if I journal by typing, I can do pretty well. It slows me down from that whirlwind of overload, but it still is pretty fast. So actually writing it, I do occasionally sit down and actually write it for the intent purpose of slowing my mind down and working out what's going on. All right, so now that we've got that, have any of you heard the expression cognitive dissonance? I don't know if any of you have heard that. And I just wanted to let you know if you've heard that, I thought you might like to know what it is. And it refers to things that are conflicting attitudes or behaviors. For example, when I used to smoke, I knew that smoking was bad for me. All right. And but I still convinced myself to smoke. Does that make sense? So I knew this part of the story, but I still did the behavior, all right, that was in conflict to the knowledge that I had. Does that make sense? And that's called cognitive dissonance. I knew better and chose to carry on the behavior. And by the way, I'm just looking at it. I think I'm coming up to 6 or 7 years without smoking soon. So that's pretty good. Maybe 6. Amazing. Anyway, so, and if any of you are trying to quit, you have my full, restate the definition. Okay, sorry. Cognitive dissonance is a situation where you've got conflicting attitudes, beliefs, or behaviors, Charlotte. So you know this is not good behavior, but you still do it. Let me give you another one. I'm trying to lose weight, and yet I still put the wrong foods in my mouth. That's cognitive dissonance. I know that those foods are not good for me, but I still eat them. Does that make sense? Let me try and think. Yeah, I want to lose weight, but I'm still not going outside and getting some exercise. So, that's cognitive dissonance. I know what I need to be doing and I'm not doing it. So it's a bit like venting with somebody else. You know something? I'd like to suggest that if you do cognitive journaling properly, it is not venting. If you do cognitive journaling properly, it is way more than venting. Because venting normally means that you let rip on your emotion. And as you're going to see, I'm going to demonstrate this for you. Cognitive journaling is a little different. So hang on there. All right. So the first thing we need to get clear on is the difference between fact and opinion. Okay. So I'm going to read some things that people say. And what I'd like you to let me know from your understanding of life is, do you think this is a fact or an opinion? How about I'm a bad person? Is that a fact or an opinion? And then we're going to move on to the next one. I failed the test. Fact or opinion? I'm selfish. Fact or opinion? I'm going to go through these individually. I didn't lend to my friends some money when they asked, fact or opinion. I am useless with money. Fact or opinion. The world is a scary place. All right? So, or I'm so stupid. So think about these things. And the question is, are these things that are factual or not? And now what I'd like to do is to take each of these and work through them as I would suggest that you might want to do with cognitive journaling. So here are some questions that you might want to write down on a piece of paper and keep them as a bookmark for your journal. That's what I would recommend. All right? Because these are questions whenever you're journaling that you might want to be asking yourself if you're trying to sort out a problem. So if you have it as a big bookmark, maybe laminate it so that you can, use it and not get it all crumpled up and messed up and everything. But it's a really good idea to ask yourself these questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with, I'm a bad person. Let's presume that you've said that about yourself. Now, do you think that is, so the question that I have is, number one, is it the truth? Number two, if it is the truth in your view, who taught you that truth? So one is it the truth? The second one, who taught you that truth? The third question is it true all of the time? And that's a very important one. And the next one is it an opinion? The next question is it an exaggeration? And then the next one I have is, what is the real truth of this thought? And the last question, what triggered the thought? So let's presume that I've messed up. And by the way, we're in this evening's broadcast, I'm going to be doing the correction of these thoughts. All right. But today for this broadcast, I want to talk about writing it down. So you might say, I'm a bad person at the top of the page. And then then you look at your little list and you go, is that the truth? Have you ever said, has anybody here ever said, I'm a bad person, or thought it? And so if you have, then really, is it the truth? Because I would like to suggest that we all have good days and bad days, and we all do things that we regret. Would that be fair? And so is it the truth that you're a bad person, though? Or is it truthful that you have made mistakes? So what you would write down is, I'm a bad person, and underneath it, is it the truth, ? And then start thinking through that and go, well, is it the truth? Some days, yes. And then sort of start thinking, is it more days than less? Or to what degree do you think you're a bad person? And if it's more than about 5%, I'd like to suggest, who taught you that, right? Who taught you that truth? Because if you have an ongoing tape in your head that says you're a bad person, the chances are somebody said that to you. And what you're doing is reliving that tape. Now, I have days when I am not happy about my behavior, but I don't believe I'm a bad person. Do you understand the difference? It's a bit like saying to a child, I love you to bits, but your behavior really is a problem today. There are two different things. One is an act that you may not be proud of. The other is, are you a bad person? And I would like to suggest very few people are bad people. There are some serial killers that I definitely think are bad people, but, most of us are not bad people. We just have moments, all right? And then I say to myself, is it true of me all of the time? Well, no, it's not true all of the time. Can be quite a nice person, And then you go, all right, how much of my time am I being a bad person? And if I'm really honest with myself in my journaling, I probably will say, well, not very much. Or depending on my mood. Have any of you noticed that if I'm feeling insecure, the things I do are likely to be not so good because I'm not in a good place. And then, so is the fact that I'm a bad person my personal opinion, all right? Is it an opinion? Is it my opinion of myself rather than a fact? And I'd like to suggest that I'm a bad person is more of an opinion than fact, because I'm pretty sure that if you ask the majority of my friends if they think I'm a bad person, they'd probably laugh at you, right? And have I had bad days? Oh, yeah. No doubt about it. But, do you believe Sal to be inherently bad? No. I'm pretty sure that most of my friends and people who know me, whether they like me or not, would not necessarily say I was inherently bad. That would be the truth of that thought, which is the next question. What is the real truth of this thought? The real truth of this thought is the little thing I did that I wasn't proud of, I turned into the fact that I am a bad person. And so that brings us to the next question. What triggered the thought? What happened that made you beat up on yourself like that? Does this make sense? So let's take the next one that we talked about with the same questions. All right. I failed the test. That would go at the top of the page. And then start asking the questions. Is it the truth? Well, that's a pretty factual thing. I either passed it or I failed it. So you understand, you'd go, yep, that's the truth. I failed it. Is it true all of the time? Oh, who taught you that truth? Well, whoever marked the paper, told me that one. Is it true all of the time? Do I fail all my tests? No, I failed this one. Is it an opinion? No, it's a fact because I failed the test. It is true. Is it an exaggeration? No. Even if I just failed it, I failed the test. It's not an exaggeration. So what is the real truth about this thought? It's a fact. And what triggered the thought? My marks. Is this making sense? So let's take the next one. I am useless. Now, I know an awful lot of people who say that about themselves. They seem to get great joy in believing that. So the question is, from your little bookmark, is it the truth? No. It's not truthful that you're useless. You may be inadequate in your view in certain things, but you're not useless. You are capable of, I would presume, doing things, whether you're sick, whether you are incapacitated in some way, whether you have medical challenges, whether you have mental health issues, whatever it is, you may have stuff, but it isn't true that you're useless. So who taught you that you were useless from your little checklist? Who taught you that? Well, quite honestly, maybe somebody told me that when I was younger and I've been reliving that tape forever. But if I keep repeating it, then I'm doing it to myself. It's a self-inflicted thing. And is it true all of the time? No, it's not true all of the time. I'm not useless all of the time. There's some times when I'm downright brilliant. But are there times when I feel that way? It's a feeling, right? It's an emotion. Yeah, it's not true all of the time. No. And then I would, as an adjunct to that, I would ask, what percentage of the time do I feel useless? Well, that depends on my state of mind. If I am suffering from depression, the chances are that I may feel that more than most people, right? More than the average, because that's part of depression. But it's still not true. It is just the feeling, the distorted thinking that you have at the time. And is it an exaggeration that you are useless? Yep, I would think so. And what is the real truth of this thought? I'm not feeling very good about myself today would be the real truth. Not that I'm useless. I'm just not feeling very self-confident today. And what triggered the thought? That makes me think back to what happened that made me think that way. Right? Something probably happened that triggered that thought in me. Now, let's work with the next one. Excuse me, everybody. Which is, I am selfish. Have any of you ever said that about yourself? I'm a selfish person. So let's check in again. Is it true that I'm a selfish person? Well, some days. Some days I definitely make a point of looking after myself. That would be selfish, but that is the fact. Who taught me that I was selfish? Well, I guess that was in my upbringing, that, you know, if you concentrate on yourself, you're being selfish. However, I don't believe it to be factual. I believe it's important that some days you look after yourself. Some days I believe it's healthy to be selfish and take time for yourself. So is it true all of the time? Can I say of myself that I am selfish all of the time? No, I definitely can't. Is it an opinion? Yes. It is a judgment of myself. Do you understand that? You know, it's like I'm a bad person. It's a judgment of myself. Therefore, it is an opinion. And it has an emotional response. And tonight, when I do the second part of this, I'm going to be talking about the emotional responses to these words, right? And so what is the real truth? Is it really true that I'm a selfish person? No. Is it really true that I took time for myself because I needed to? Yep, that's true. And is that a bad thing? No. And what triggered the thought that taking time for myself was selfish? Well, that's in my upbringing. That you're a selfish person, or that you need to be thinking of others rather than yourself. Well, I'd like to suggest that if some of us spent a little bit more time looking after ourselves, we wouldn't have a lot of the mental health issues that people do. So here's the next one. I didn't lend my friend money when they asked for it. Is it the truth? Yes. Do you understand? That is a fact, not an opinion. If somebody asked for money and I said no, then that would be a fact, not an opinion. Do you get that? Because it's something that actually happened. So, sorry, I just managed to mess with my screens here. There we go. And so the next one is, who taught me that? Well, that is just a fact. You don't have to be taught a fact. It is a fact. Do you know what I mean? It's a it is either a factual thing or it isn't, and it's a fact. However, if I had said I am a bad person because I didn't lend my friend money when they asked, if I had made that judgment, that would be two different things in one sentence, right? The I'm a bad person was the judgment, and the fact was I didn't lend my friend money. Now, is it a bad thing? not to lend a friend money. Well, what if you grew up in a household that said, never a lender or a borrower be? Maybe you grew up with that adage in your upbringing. So that would be a truth that was taught to you by somebody else. But again, it was their opinion. It wasn't necessarily a true thing. I don't believe that it is a fact that you're a bad person if you lend somebody money. And I don't believe it's a fact that if you don't lend somebody money, that it's a bad thing, because you may not have the money to lend. I've always said, if you're going to lend somebody money, make sure it's money you can afford never to have returned. Never. And be surprised if it does. All right. If you have enough money to lend on that basis, then, go ahead. And so, is the fact that I didn't lend my friend money an exaggeration? No, you either did or you didn't. It's fact. Okay, so therefore it's not an exaggeration. And what's the real truth about this thought? Exactly what you said. It's factual. All right. And what triggered the thought? I'm beating up on myself. Right? That's what triggered the thought, because I'm obviously didn't lend my friend money, and now I'm busy regurgitating that and feeling upset with myself for it. But it's still a fact. You didn't do it. It's okay. It's over. Can't change it. Or you could change it. You could go and lend it if you really want to. But you understand, it's a factual thing. It's not an opinion. So that's what you're doing in journaling, is you're working through what is a fact and what isn't. So let's do the next one. I am useless with money. Have any of you ever said that about yourself? Okay, so is it the truth? Maybe. Maybe that's what you write down. Maybe it is the truth. Let me find out. Who taught you that truth? You see, for you to say you're useless with money, you must be comparing yourself with somebody. And the chances are maybe somebody did tell you that you are useless with money. And is it true of you all of the time? Probably not. Probably sometimes you're pretty useless with money, and maybe sometimes you're pretty good with money. And is it opinion? An opinion? Yeah, it's a judgment. So therefore, to say of yourself, I'm useless with money, means that you have judged yourself. And is it an exaggeration that I am useless with money? Yeah, maybe I have days when I'm not so swift, would be the truth, right? And that is the next one. What's the real truth? Well, the real truth is I'm not good with money all of the time, but I am sometimes. And what triggered the thought? I'm beating up on myself for something that, maybe somebody said, why did you do that? And give you the look. And so I just wondered if, Charlotte, do you have any questions that are recurring, or that during your recovery that were recurring ones? I'm finding that now that I'm retired, I am so tired as a recurring thing I'm saying about myself. And I'm trying, I try to work through it and go, is it the truth? Well, actually, yes, it is. Yeah, am I doing everything I can to correct that? Well, a lot of things, not everything, because I'm not exercising, but I have changed my diet, and I am working on those sort of things. So you understand, I keep looking at everything and going, is this the truth? And then working through it. So I wondered, Charlotte, what your experience has been, because if you've been journaling, has it helped you? And what were the recurring patterns? I find that my recurring patterns are normally what I'm saying to myself. All right? The excuses I'm giving myself. Okay, so you find that it differs depending on the situation. All right, that's interesting. Because I found that I had recurring things that I'm saying to myself as excuses. And I don't know if you relate. And what I'm going to be talking about tonight is how do we change that, literally the behavior around that negative thinking. How do we change the behavior, the cognitive behavior, as opposed to staying in the loop? And I know that you understand about being in the loop. Now, I thought one of the things that you did that was amazing was that you that's interesting. Okay, so Charlotte, can I repeat that? Because that's interesting. Yeah, so Charlotte's saying that she journaled her way through high school and recently have started looking back to see the patterns. And can you just say what they were, just so people can understand? What did you see in rereading the journals? And which thought patterns have you changed? I found one came up for me this week that I thought was interesting. Somebody was talking about the fact that they had just lost over 25 pounds, and the way they did it was to give up dairy and wheat. And I instantly replied, I couldn't do that. Now, let's go through the list, all right? Was that the truth? Not necessarily, right? That wasn't necessarily the truth. I didn't want to do that. That would be the truth. Who taught me that I couldn't do that? Well, it's what I keep telling myself so I don't have to give them up. Is it true all of the time? No, because I am changing my diet, but and I am reducing the amount of certain things that I'm eating. So I know I can make the changes. I just don't want to do it all in one go. And I've got a sense of humor around it, right? So do you understand that I can look at each of these things and ask myself the same questions? And it's not that I can't do it. I don't want to. All right. So Charlotte's saying it's her gained experiences that have helped. Lost motivation is now motivation. I see things differently now because my baggage can be worked through with skills that I've gained. Yes, absolutely. And that's why this whole thing about cognitive journaling is really like very cheap therapy. do you know what I mean? It's like it could save you an awful lot of money at a therapist, because if you do the journaling. Because if you're really honest with yourself, you can see that this actually isn't the truth. This is just a lie you tell yourself. Now, I've got quite a few lies that I tell myself, right? And I'm, I am aware of them and I own them. So that's sort of half the battle. It's not, I'm not blaming the rest of the world. I know I'm doing this to myself. It's a self-inflicted wound. And I think when we get, yes, and Charlotte's saying the key is to working smarter, not harder. Yes, I quite agree that for you. So overwhelm was, you were creating your own overwhelm. Yeah, I think, somebody once said to me, it's a really, yes, if you can look at your own stuff, and Charlotte's saying, and I identify an irrational fear and thought, if you can do that, you basically are helping yourself to a very large degree. Charlotte, I'm downsizing, for example, and one of the things that that I found was that I am so often saying to myself, you're taking too long. Now, it's interesting because it could be the truth. Right? It could be the truth that I'm taking too long, but it could be actually, if I have faith and if I believe in everything happens at its own pace, that I could be absolutely correct. Does that make sense? It could be actually, hi, Bernie, it's good to see you. It could be absolutely true that I'm taking too long, or it could be an absolute lie that I'm taking too long. Yeah, Charlotte is saying that high school was the hardest and yet most rewarding time to find herself in a strong way. Yes, and I think that would be true of most people going through high school. I'd like to suggest, as Bernice will probably relate to, your first year of marriage is another time when everybody should be cognitively journaling, because there are so many different things that come up between being alone and then being in a partnership, and it is so different that to come to a happy place with two completely different schools of thought. Yes, and this is so true. Charlotte saying it's all a matter of perspective. What you see is true about yourself, when actually it isn't true. And that is why I suggest that you ask these questions. And I believe what I will do is because I think it will be important, in the notes to this vlog, I will put those questions so people can cut and paste them, copy and paste them. All right. And then use them as a bookmark. Ask yourself every night when you go to bed, when you listen to yourself relive your day. And I hope some of you do that. Yes. It's interesting. I can remember that one of the big issues in my life when I got married was the first Christmas. Isn't it strange what I remember? And the interesting thing was, I grew up in a household, and I don't know if any of you relate to this. I grew up in a household where if you could see any green on the Christmas tree, you hadn't finished decorating it. Do you know what I mean? Every part of the Christmas tree was either covered in ornaments or silver stuff. And my first Christmas, my new husband said, let's go. I'd moved to a different country, so let's go and get the Christmas decorations. And I said, oh, good. Yeah, let's do that. And off I went. And I went and I had a cart, and he went off in another direction to go and pick up stuff. And I had a cart full of everything, and he had 2 boxes of red apples. And he said to me, what's all that? And I said, Christmas decorations. And he said, no, we just need these. And it was really interesting because there wasn't any win-win to this. There wasn't, let's talk about this. This was like, his idea was, this is how a Christmas tree should look. And, because he was so adamant, I got really strong on my side as well. And it was like, really? I thought the fun of Christmas is decorating the tree. It's and less is more. Really interesting. So were we both right? If you think about that, were we both right on that one? Yes, by our upbringing. But was it the truth that the right way to decorate a tree? Were we both right on that? Okay. And who taught us that truth, right? Our upbringing had done that. And is it true? Well, is it true all the time? But some people would agree with me and some people would have agreed with him. So really, it was an opinion as to what a good Christmas tree looked like. Do you get the fact? I don't think there is a truth on that one. And I want to tell you something. I was horrified to. Now you're probably wondering, what did I do? And those of you who know me quite well know that I definitely didn't back down. So I said, okay, fine. Why don't you take that half of the tree and put your apples on it, and I'll take the other half of the tree and I'll decorate it. We can't do that. I go, why not? But we'll both be happy. All right. So, and Sakura is saying that, right? That she and her husband have just had a disagreement on that. You know, she doesn't like a real tree. She likes a plastic tree because there isn't any mess. So, Sakura, if your husband agreed to tidy up the mess, would you consider a real tree? Now, what are his reasons for liking a real tree? Probably because he always grew up with one. And who taught you that all the mess of a Christmas tree had to be picked up every day? Yeah, exactly. You know, Charlotte saying morals and values play into these too. Yeah, exactly. But you see, is it the truth that plastic tree is better because it doesn't make a mess? Yes, for somebody who doesn't want to be cleaning up mess. But you know, if I talk to Bernice's husband, he's probably going to tell me he loves the smell of that, of a real tree. Yes, and Bernice is saying, yes, I grew up with it. So he wanted you to experience a real tree. Now, I want to tell you, Sakura, somebody who's done both, all right? The smell of a real tree is unbelievable. And so what I would do is say, hey, if you're prepared to clean up the pine needles and make sure that it has water so that it stays growing and not become a fire risk, all right, then I am be delighted to experience it for 1 year. And if it isn't any problem, I will definitely consider it next year. You know what I mean? Make it a positive. However, I grew up with people telling me not to have a real tree. But you know, it could be your challenge for the first year, right? All right, so now you're saying that last year you both agreed to it. All right, last year a real tree and this year a plastic tree. I will consider a baby tree. Exactly. All right, it's called you know, a win-win. Now, you know what I did, Sakura? I have a tree that's only half a tree that you can actually push right against the wall. It takes up half the space, because how often do you use the back of a tree, right? Not very much. So my tree actually is plastic, and you push it against the wall. But when you look at it, it looks like a full tree. Yes, so Charlotte's saying that her family had both. They had a plastic tree, but they had a tabletop-sized one. Yeah, I want to tell you, Sakura, it's the greatest tree. I paid a lot of money for it, I must admit. And the time to buy it is after Christmas, right? Wait until they're trying to get rid of the Christmas stock, or just before Christmas, when the stores are trying to get rid of it. And actually Google for a half tree if you're interested in it. It's a great tree. I love it. I've got like a 6-footer. Right. So, and that's the other thing, you know, some people grew up with with table-sized trees, and other people grew up with something that overtakes the whole house. You know, it looks like something you'd have, you know, in the Oval Office or something. But, you know, it's just like, it's a huge tree, right? Yes, and that's another good one, right? Buy your treats, Halloween treats after Halloween. Yeah, that's right. I always stock up after Halloween or very close to Halloween when they've started discounting them. Yeah. So let me ask you, can you help me so that I can help you, perhaps? What other things do you say to yourself about yourself? All right. So that we can work through this cognitive journaling thing. What other things do you say? Or have you thought? For example, Bernice, you've moved to North America. Did you say to yourself, I don't fit in? Wow, Charlotte's saying they had up to 8 trees in their house. They had sort of, they had grandparents lived there as well. They had trees all over the place, right? Yes. All right. So I started with that one. I'm a bad person. So when you do the replay, you're going to hear that. Yes. Yeah. And I'm not good enough. All right. Good. So Sakura, these are the questions. Do you want to work through this with me? Just so that I can demonstrate how it works. If you're willing, that would be great. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not enough. All right. So is that the truth? That's the first question. And I'm going to have these, I'm going to have these so that you can copy them out. I'll put them in the notes. Number one, is it true that you are not enough? No, it's not true. Great. Who taught you that you are not good enough? Because you understand that is an opinion, it's not a truth, right? Now, tonight, I'm going to be doing the effects of these words and these statements on us. I'm going to be doing the cognitive behavioral side of this. So who taught you that you are not good enough? Or you're not enough? Sorry. So give that some thought. And then the next one is it true of you all the time that you feel that you're not enough? And the chances are the answer to that is no. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Is it an opinion? Can you see that that is an opinion, not a truth, Benny's? I am not enough means you are comparing yourself with somebody. And that is an opinion. It's not a truth. You see, we might not be enough in this little area, but we may be more than enough in other areas. So, it's not true all of the time at all. And it's far from the truth. Yes, that's right. It is far from the truth. The bullies and parents and family taught you that. It's in my head, but it's not the truth. I am comparing myself to Disneyland. Yeah, you got the Disneyland thing. Well done. Yes. That's, you are never going to be like Disneyland. You're a human being. All right, that's good. So is it an exaggeration? It's one of the questions. Is I am not enough an exaggeration? Maybe you had a hiccup here, but, I'm not enough is a huge advance onto this, right? So, and we do that so often to ourselves, right? And so the real truth is that I'm beating up on myself. And the last question is, what triggered that thought? All right. So when you're doing your journaling, write down, when you've sort of worked through it all. Hi, Kerry. Good to see you. Yeah. No problem, Kerry. I'm hoping that this will help you as well. Yes, so you can see that when you work through these questions, you can see that it's a self-inflicted thing, that this is a judgment that you are making about yourself. Okay, so Kerry, if you've got any statements that you make about yourself, like, I'm a bad person, or I'm not good enough, or, whatever. Just let us have them and we'll start working through them. All right. Now, Charlotte said, I'm not worthy of. This is one of the statements that she thinks a great deal. So, Charlotte, are you up to working this one through? Yeah, that's interesting. Bernice says, after a happy high, I feel like I don't deserve it. And then I get into that line of thinking, and then I get really depressed. We're going to be talking about that more tonight as well, about the behavior of this. Okay, so, all right. So can you see that a lot of this you do to yourself? And what I'm going to demonstrate tonight is that when you're thinking that you are good enough, you will actually do things much better than if you're going to sit and think that you're not good enough. It's really an excuse. It's a judgment of yourself, and it's self-inflicted 9 times out of 10. Now, if you live with somebody who's constantly telling you you're not good enough, you know what that's going to do to you. Or if you are constantly judging yourself against, other people, and constantly deciding, making that judgment that you're not good enough, you're going to push yourself. Oh, hi, Nyasha. Good to see you. And it's okay. I'm glad you're here. We're talking about cognitive journaling. So do you want to give me another statement that you make about yourself? And let's work through it. Anybody who's got one? Anybody who'd like to work through one? What do you say about yourself? So, Charlotte, I just want to know if you want to work through I'm not worthy. Yeah. Yes, and a lot of it, and that's why in these questions, Bernice, one of the things I keep saying is, who taught you that? All right? Because 9 times out of 10, it is your conditioning, your upbringing. But, one of the things that you might want to do is, if you're saying that, you love the way that Benji brings up his children with love, why don't you do that to yourself? Why don't you treat yourself with love? And that's why I have these questions, to help you do that, all right? To ask you to really print these out and laminate them and have them in your journal, so that you can keep asking yourself questions, because it will help you turn the negative around. And what I'm going to be doing tonight is to show you what happens to you when you start believing these lies. Okay? And I'm hoping that between the 2 broadcasts, that a lot of people will be able to see the difference of what we do and how to correct it if you want to. Now, the reason that I talked about things like cognitive dissonance and stuff is because I want you to understand that we all do things that are not mentally healthy. But it's about, do we stay in the vortex? Do we keep repeating the negative? And if we do, that's what mental health issue is, all right, where we can't correct it. I've always said to people, who say to me, oh, I don't know if I need help. And my attitude is, if you can get yourself out of it and turn it around into a positive, then you don't need help. Okay, so Nyasha, let me know if I can repeat that. Yes, and now, is he a psychologist or a psychiatrist that he has the right to judge you as a 13-year-old in your mental growth? Because I think that is horrible, to say to you, you've graduated to 13. I don't see you as a 13-year-old at all, especially when I try and beat your words. So forgive me, I'm quite angry about that. Okay, so Nyasha says, since you're talking about depression, I've been depressed these past week because of my health. It's not where I want to be, and I'm constantly thinking about it. Okay, Kerry, hang on to that question, please. I'll do that next. So, Nyasha, what is it you hear in your head? What is it that you say to yourself? So the idea of this cognitive journaling is that you actually write down at the top of the page what your thought is. So what is your thought about this? You say, this is not where I want to be. I don't want to be sick. Or what is it that you have that keeps coming up? Yes, but I'm sorry, Bernice. What I'm saying is that if he said you were a 6 when he started, that's a judgment. Yeah, I know it's not a bad thing, and I've seen it done, and I understand it, Sakura, but I have to be warning you that when somebody says, you know, you have the mental age of a 6-year-old, you're inclined to act, that's quite a difficult thing to hear. And that's why I'm wondering whether he has the qualifications to tell you that. Because it's his judgment, right? Or that you've now graduated to a 13-year-old. And I understand it's all about learning. So I just don't like the labels. That's what triggers me, is the label. And I'd like to suggest we're all learning here and growing. So it's the label of, your mental health age that worries me. And I don't mind admitting it. So, right. Nyasha, I'm waiting for you to tell me what the thought is, the recurring thought about your illness. Yes, I'm saying that from a place of love. All right. For him to say, "Hey, you're improving. You're much better. Than you were 6 months ago." That's fine. But when he's tagging it to an age, I think that's very difficult for me. Okay, so Nyasha, those are lots of different things, all right? So let's take them one at a time, all right? You need to have a procedure done to improve your health slightly, but you don't like the procedure, is that right? And you're worried about your job and what others will think. All right, so those are all different things. So let's take them. If you want to work through them, I'll gladly do it. But let's take one at a time. I'll take one of yours and then Kerry's, and then I'll come back for another one of yours and then Kerry's. Okay? So about the procedure, is the statement that keeps coming, I don't want to do the procedure? Okay, so here is the thing. I'm going to ask you some questions around this, all right? Is it true that you don't want to do the procedure? Or is it true that you are scared to do the procedure, but you know it's necessary? So which is the truth of that? Because, Nyasha, I want to tell you that somebody this year, I went to a specialist and they wanted to do a procedure and I said no. Okay. And that was the end of the story. It's my body. I choose not to have that done. I didn't get depressed about it. I just went, no, I'm not having that done. And, you know, it upset the specialist, but I didn't really care. It's my body. I can choose what I have done and what I don't have done. I didn't perceive it to be necessary. So here is the thing. All right, you can't mention it because it's too much information. So let's then move on to Kerry, and then I'll come back for your second part. All right, but do you understand that you can choose either to do that procedure or not? All right, don't get into depression about it. Either you can see the logic in doing it or you can't, and you get to choose. It's not anybody else's choice. They can say, we want you to have this procedure, or you really should. There's a guilt word for you. And you're going, yeah, I understand that. But as I was saying earlier about cognitive dissonance, that, you know, you can say on the one side, I know I shouldn't be smoking, but I smoke, or I shouldn't be putting food in my mouth that's unhealthy, but I do. You can say, I know I need this procedure, but I choose not to do it. That would be your right. But it's called cognitive dissonance because, you know, it's a fact that it may be a fact. I don't know. It may be a fact that you need to have this done, but you don't want to do it. It's your choice. Right. So the truth is that you are scared. Did you understand that? That is the truth, is you are scared to have the procedure. It's not that you can't see that you need it or that you don't want to have it, but you're scared. Okay, so let me just, while you're thinking about that one, let me just work with Kerry a little bit here. Kerry? Kerry said, I often feel like I don't deserve the happiness I've been experiencing because I am a horrible person. Okay, so I'm going to take the last bit of that, Kerry. Are you with me here? So we're going to work with the statement, I am a horrible person, and I'm going to ask you the questions I recommend that you journal. Put I am a horrible person at the top because that is the judgment, and ask yourself, is it the truth? Is it the truth that you are a horrible person? All right. And my next question to you, who said that you're a horrible person? Who taught you that? Or is that your own judgment of yourself? So I want you to think about that. All right. All right. So now then, is it true all of the time? Are you a horrible person all of the time? Right. So who taught you that? You grew up hearing it. Right. And you chose to believe it. But you're an adult now. That was your kid. All right. But now you're an adult. I don't, quite honestly, Kerry, I've got to say this. I cannot believe that anybody that is in the group would say that you're a horrible person. I would say that there are days when you're not perfect any more than I am. But I don't believe you're a horrible person. And I'm pretty sure there isn't another person in the group that would tell you that. All right. And funny enough, I have totally the opposite. I think you totally deserve what you're getting. You know? All right. So you understand this is an opinion and it was your father's opinion. You know, this isn't the truth. And is it an exaggeration that you are a horrible person? Is it an exaggeration? All right. And so what is the real truth of this thought? You're waiting. Yeah, you're right. It is an exaggeration. What is the real truth? Is it possible that the real truth of this is you're preparing yourself in case it doesn't continue? That you'll be able to blame yourself? You see, something is bringing that on. For you, for you to say, I don't deserve this, I'm a horrible person, that's setting yourself, yes, you're preparing yourself. Yeah, that's what I wondered. And not only that, you're prepared to take the blame. So is it true? And if it isn't true, why would you do it to yourself? And that's what I'm going to be talking about tonight, Kerry. I'm going to be doing work on the other side of that. Hi there, Nal. So, to me, it's really important. So, Nyasha, if you want to write to me about what that is so that I can better understand it and help you, please do that. But I'd like to just go on and go, you're worried about your job, all right? So, and also let's do the one, what will others think? Why, may I ask, would this procedure change how you look? Is that why you're worried about what other people would think? Or what would happen that it's none of anybody else's business? This is about your health. This has got nothing to do with other people and what they think. All right. So Kerry is saying that, she's in a funk. And boy, I know that one, Kerry. And I've been lashing out and it's making me feel horrible. No, you are making yourself feel horrible because you're embarrassed by your actions. Am I correct in that? It's... Okay, yeah, no problem. Hang on, I'm just going to type it for you. All right, so write to me and, and tell me what's going on. And then let's try and work through it. So what I'm trying to say to you is, we spend an awful lot of our time worrying about what other people think. And why do we do that? Okay. Is it any, I always quote Terry Cole Whitaker, who wrote a book which is entitled, What You Think of Me Is None of My Business. You see, when we concentrate on what we need to do for ourselves and not worry about what other people think, we are happier. I've noticed that the fact that I am choosing to downsize and live in a very small space, a lot of people, have judgments of that. Or is it my own judgments that I am transferring? All right, I have to be careful of that one too. You can email me whenever you want to. That's part of what I do. I spend some of my time broadcasting and the rest of the time I spend with emails. So you have no idea how many people email me. And some people who will never be on a broadcast, but they know when they've got stuff going on that I will, work with them. So you just go right ahead. It's part of what I do. Now, I'm not a therapist and I don't want to be, but I hopefully can help you work through some of this. Kerry, can you see that you are doing this to yourself? Now, here's the other thing, Carrie, that when we talk about this tonight, I hope you're going to be there tonight, because I'd like to talk about what the behavior sets up. For example, if you are starting to lash out, does that make you a very lovable person? All right. And so the question is, why are you lashing out? This, that's what I'd be looking at. There is a reason why you are lashing out. And is it because you're not getting your way? Is it because something's frustrating you? You see, the truth is you're not a horrible person. The truth is your behavior sucks at the moment. Right? Because that is, oh, wait a minute. Here's the question for you, Carrie. Do you think this is passive-aggressive behavior? In other words, you're not dealing with the issue. You are just, doing the result. This makes me really angry, so I lash out instead of talking about the issue. Okay, so one of the many things I love about Carrie is her honesty. She says, I'm frustrated and I'm pissing myself off. Right. Okay, so do you understand that perhaps turning over a page in your journal and writing down the things that are frustrating you and working through each of them would be a good idea? Because is the frustration about control? Is the frustration, and you know me, I understand these things big time. Yeah. Yes, and Nyasha, that's all that I ever wanted to do. I had a really nice email from somebody this week, and what they said to me was, I just want to thank you for always being there when I'm trying to understand myself. And I thought that was a great compliment to the group and, to the work that we do. Because you see, the truth is that we all have these issues. We all behave badly at times. But the truth is we all have good reasons for doing it. And if there's any way, in the slightest way, that we can help you see through this, it would be awesome. And because I know, Nyasha, that once you understand it better, you will probably help other people as well, right? So, Carrie, I would literally write a list of everything you're frustrated with at the moment. And then, ask yourself some questions. Have I told this person, or if it's about somebody else's behavior, for example, have I told this person that the behavior upsets me? Yeah. I think, Carrie, that you're smart enough and you've done enough of the work to know how to fix this for yourself. But if you are sitting at home and snuggling and beating up on yourself, then I'm pretty sure that that's not what you'd recommend that I do. And so that's one of the things I find really helpful, Carrie, is when you're doing that to yourself, ask yourself, is this what I would recommend to Erin? Right? Because I know how you feel about Erin. Because I'm pretty sure that you wouldn't. Okay, so Nyasha, don't worry about it. Just write to me about it and let me know. All right? And I totally understand that this could be a cultural thing. And, quite honestly, if this is somebody else's view that it is crazy, that's just their view. Now, let me ask you one thing, though, and I do need to ask you this thing. Is what you are considering doing in any way illegal or in your country? And I say that because there are some things that are culturally illegal. And so, you know, I would urge you to be careful about this, if so. Yeah, but I actually, by just saying what you said, I've got a better idea of what it might be. So I appreciate that. And so this is about, you know, I've always said to people that it is really healthy to get a lot of input from a lot of people, but you still end up making your own decision. I can assure you that I'm sure there are a lot of people that are going to think that what I'm doing is insane, and I understand that. But you know, it is what I believe I need to do. Right, Kerry. All right, shelf your pride and get some help with it. Yes, good girl. All right, because if you know, that's what I've always said. If you are capable of thinking your way out, or if you can work with somebody, you know, and get your way out, that's great. If you have an ongoing problem and you can't dig yourself out of it mentally, then you need to talk to somebody who can help you dig yourself out. That's asking for help is a sign of strength. I have always said that. It is not a sign of weakness. So there, I want to tell you something. When I get really weird, Kerry, Yvonne is wonderful. You know what I mean? I'll just go, okay, Yvonne, help me out here. You know? And what I will do is I will actually say, and I'm terrified of this, or I'm, you know, or I don't know why. I've never been scared of these sort of things in my life, but suddenly I'm really scared. And just verbalizing them, it really makes it a lot better. And then the other thing is, Kerry, I find what helps me a great deal, and it's a cognitive thing, is yeah, I'm sorry to laugh, but oh, I relate to that so well. Yeah, Kerry just said, I feel like I'm turning into my mom with some of my behavior. I want to tell you something. The one thing you said you never do. But one of the things that I find I do is I actually, and I'll be talking about this tonight, one of the things I do is say to myself, now, if I had really high self-esteem, what would I be doing right now? Yeah, and I'm really sorry, Nyasha, that I can't remember what that was. So forgive me for that. So that's why I need you to write to me and remind me so that I can do this, you know, on a intelligent basis as opposed to trying to guess what's going on for you. All right. And, you know, again, I will wait until I get that information, and then we'll work through it as best we can. But you understand the principle of this. It's like, really, this is about you. It's not about anybody else. You know, if we went with everybody who thought we were crazy, I am certain that when they thought about going to the moon, people thought they were crazy. All right. I am pretty certain that when Bill Gates decided to, you know, opt out of Harvard so that he could build computers in his garage, I am certain his parents thought he was crazy. You know, it's like, you know, if we stopped ourselves from doing what we want to do because somebody might think we're crazy, then nothing would get done. Does that make any sense? So if you're an adult and you have made a decision and it's based on your rational, and I don't actually believe in a lot of ways that there are wrong decisions. You know, the point is, I had people tell me I was crazy when I wanted a hysterectomy. But I knew that I was having real problems, and it was really interesting that they hadn't identified them, but I knew I was having them. And when I eventually got to that point and got to a surgeon who listened to me, sure enough, I needed a hysterectomy. You know what I mean? It was like everybody thought I was crazy because I hadn't produced children. And I said, yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to, because I have a problem. And sure enough, I did. So I look at it and go, crazy is a judgment. It's not the truth. When I say crazy is a judgment, and you know, I think, you know, people who've grown up with everybody calling them stupid and crazy and whatever will all tell you that that is not an easy thing to live with. So let me see what it is. Remind me what it is. And are we connected on Facebook, Nyasha? Or did you write to me at my email? Yeah, I think it's really important that we all understand that, you know, in terms of cognitive journaling, what you are doing is you're writing down the individual parts. Remember when I asked Nyasha what was the thought going through her head, she actually gave me 3. And that's what I want you to be able to see, that in one sentence, there were 3 completely different issues. One was to do with a medical procedure, one was to do with her work, and one was to do with what people thought. 3 different issues. And really, when you're working through these, I would recommend you do them as 3 different issues, because they are related to 3 different parts of your thinking. Number 1 is, you know, your fear about doing the procedure. Number 2 is I could lose my job. And number 3 is what will people think? And you know, so to me, this is like, wow, 3 completely different issues that need to be worked on. Not 1, it's 3. Kerry, do you see clearly? Yeah, our parents really can do a number on us. Yeah, that's true. And by the way, for all of you who are parents, remember that. Yeah, okay, excellent. Or if you got me on Messenger, you can send it as a message on Messenger. So here is the thing. What I want you to see is that cognitive journaling means that you're not just writing down what your feelings are, you are working on those feelings. Does that make sense? You're asking yourself questions, and in answering the questions, you will actually be doing the mental health work you need to do. So that is why I wanted to give you some questions to work on. By the way, you can make up your own list of questions if you find that other ones are relevant, all right? But I just came up with a few that would hopefully help you write down some facts. One of the things that I was told really early on in my mental health growth was to take yourself out of the situation and look at it from the outside. In other words, if this situation was your best friend, and you were looking at your best friend saying this to you, what would you be thinking? Because we are, for some reason, we don't beat up on our best friends as much as we beat up on ourselves. All right. And that is a really interesting point. And I found that really helps me, you know, like, okay, fine, I'm really into myself at the moment. But if somebody, what I say to myself is, somebody wrote to me about this, what would I recommend? And so that is one of the questions I ask myself. The other one is, if, for example, I'm too tired to do something, I will ask myself the question, and it's part of my litany of questions, which is, if they paid you $1 million to be able to do this within the next hour, do you think you could do it? That's a really good question to ask, right? And so if the answer is yes, because I normally laugh at myself and go, of course, then I go, then you are choosing not to do it. All right. That is the cognitive dissonance. That, you know, I know that I need to be doing this, but I am choosing not to do it. And, you know, or I see, you know, this is a big risk and I'm choosing to take it. Whereas a lot of people wouldn't take the risk. But it doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It just means that not everybody will necessarily agree with it. But, you know, as long as we understand that we are adults, and that I'm presuming that everybody is, and that we choose to live our life and we are accountable for our own behavior, then think about that. But I love being able to say to myself, now, if I were a really together, very smart person, what would I do about this? You know, and the answers are quite interesting. And that is cognitive work. Do you understand that? When you take yourself out of yourself and ask questions and work through the answers. Now, when I do the work tonight, talking about the behaviors, I'm hoping that this will all make more sense, because part of it is thinking it. But now the next part is, what are you going to do about it? All right. Do you choose to stay, as Kerry said, you know, do I choose to stay frustrated and keep my mouth shut? Do I choose to get some help with this and not lash out at somebody? Do I choose to not get the help and just get more and more depressed about myself and keep talking badly about myself? You know, those are all choices that we make. And Kerry, good for you for seeing that you need to talk to somebody about this and get some of this frustration out. And for me, I know that when I hear myself say, well, it's not fair, they did this, 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 and this, or they're not doing this, 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 it's a control thing. They're not doing what I want them to do. And so what I need to do is work on myself. What do I need to let go of so that I don't get concerned about this control issue? That is a really big one for me. And I have to tell you something, I have to do a lot of work to this day on that part of me. And maybe for the rest of my life, because it really upsets me when people are not doing things my way. As you've heard me say time and time again, there's only one thing that causes me stress, and it's people. Not doing things the way I'd like them to. And I'm the first one to admit that. But, you know, I do realize that when I start getting frustrated, somebody called me this morning at some ungodly hour because they wanted to know where somebody was that I knew 5 years ago. And for some reason, they have my number as a contact. And I just said to them, you know, I haven't seen this person in 5 years. And I assure you, I'd like to see them as much as you, right? For the same reasons. So do me a favor. I have no idea where this person is. Please get my name off the contact list, because I don't know this person anymore. Right? Haven't heard from them or seen them in 5 years. And, you know, I'm not happy with them either. Yeah. And so, Sakura, you see, I think that, you know, that asking for help is always a sign of strength. All right. And, you know, it's not easy. Somebody asked me last week, you know, what's it like getting help? And I said, oh, it can be very frustrating. It can make you cry. Or you can cry. Not that it makes you cry, but you can, you know, get upset enough to cry about it. I said, when I go to get help, if I go and do some group work, and every now and then I've done that, You know, I can assure you, when I go to do group work, they pick on me. Why? Because of who I am, my mentality, the way I speak, the way I think. You know, I want to tell you something. When I go and do group work, you know, they really like having a quick hit at me. And I know that it happens. And so now I just go, I'm not here for them. I'm here to help myself. And, you know, I really do the work. And I just keep saying, I'm sorry you feel that way. But, you know, it really isn't any of my business. It really isn't any of my business that you feel that way. And they don't like that. They want me to change. And so to me, it really helped me doing group work because of that. So yeah, you know something, Sakura, I think from what I know of you, you're getting some great help from your father-in-law. All right. And so, you know, just keep talking things through with him, because obviously he makes sense to you and he says it in a way that you understand, and you're helping to grow with him. Okay. Hi, Beth. All right. So, Carrie, this is another cognitive dissonance. All right. You know you should not be drinking caffeine because of the heart murmur, and you choose to do it, but you justify it by saying, I only have one a day. Okay. All right. So you know what I mean? And thank you, Sakura, for that compliment. I appreciate that. So you're sometimes getting help from people that make sense to you is a lot easier and a lot better than some other ways. I can remember, you know, I have people that have been referred to me by doctors, and because they heard about me from other patients, and it's quite funny because I will say, you do know I am not qualified to do this work in terms of, you know, a doctor referring me, and they go, yeah, but I believe you're really good. So I go, okay, as long as that's okay with you. All right, so you know, so this is the thing. If you know that caffeine is not good for you and you continue to drink it, Carrie, and you're a smart lady, right? It's like me saying I want to lose weight, but I keep eating the wrong things. All right. So, but like you, Carrie, I'm not ready to totally stop doing this, but I'm prepared to start making adjustments. All right. And so, Carrie, I understand what you're saying. You're saying I'm down to only having one a day. Okay. Now, what I would suggest, Carrie, is, yeah, you're going to cut down on it. I was going to say, do you have a soda stream? Because what I like about having a soda stream, I don't have soda more than maybe once or twice a month, but I have my own machine and I go down and I make it 1/3 of what they recommend. So I have 1/3 of the amount of syrup in it. I basically have flavored fuzzy water, as Yvonne calls it. You know, I choose not to have all the sugar and caffeine, but every now and then I make myself, yeah, you know, so I'm pretty sure that none of us, you know, really knows that having, you know, a lot of pop a day is not good for you. I mean, I think we all know that. It's like, you know, I knew that smoking wasn't good for me, but I still did it. I know that sugar isn't good for me. I still have it. You know what I mean? Now I cut it now. When I say I cut it, I mix sugar with stevia and so forth, so that I'm taking physically less sugar, but I'm still keeping the sweet. Does it make it better? A little bit, but not a lot. I was hearing this week, Beth, and that's an interesting comment that I wanted to check with you. I was hearing that that actually having skim milk is worse for you than having whole milk because of what they put in it to make it possible to drink it, which I found quite interesting. So here's the question I ask you, Beth. Beth, this one is a difficult question, so let me know if you're ready for it. It's a 2x4 type question, so just let me know if you want to hear it. You know me, I like to have people choose to. Okay. What I love about Beth, she says, I'm ready, hit me up. Yeah, okay, so Beth, in your reality, because I know you to be really such a pragmatic person, you know, you tell it like it is. How much would you be able to do if you didn't have the cans of caffeine? How much do you think that would change your productivity? Do you think your productivity would drop 25%, 50%? What do you think? And I'm asking it, Beth, because one of the questions somebody asked me, wow, that's interesting. Okay, so Beth says the same. Her productivity is the same when she doesn't drink them. I'm a stubborn mule. Okay, so you drink them because why? You don't do it for productivity. You drink the high caffeine because... Answer that question for me so I can understand. Is it because it's convenient? Is it because you like the taste? Is it, you know, I drink 4 of these a day because you like the flavor of Monster drinks. Okay, so you're not taking just a pop. You're taking high caffeine. And you are aware of what that does to your body, all right? Because you're smart. Nyasha, not a problem at all. I look forward to working with you. So, you know, let's see what we can do to help you here. Yeah. Okay, so that's what we were talking about. This is cognitive dissonance, where we know that this is not good for you, but you still choose to do it. This is your right, okay? You have news, okay? Wow. So Beth saying that she has accepted the manager position, but on her terms. Wow. And they agreed. All right. So here's the thing, Beth. If you would like to, in the subgroup that we have, you might want to let me know or let me know privately, you know, what those terms are so I can make sure you're not going against your own agreement. You understand what I'm saying? So that I can hold you accountable to not being manipulated around your own agreement, if that's what you would like. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, they're going to manipulate you. You know that. They need you so badly to be a manager that they'll say yes, 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 yes. And then, yeah. By the way, did you get that in writing from them? Or did they just say it verbally? Because I would ask to get that in writing so that you know it to be true. or I would, okay, no problem, Yasha, we'll see you this evening. All right, or else I would write them an email confirming that today we discussed X, Y, and Z, and you agreed to this, 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 and this. Right. I told you that at the beginning, Beth. Who wouldn't want you as a manager, right? With your work ethic and your creativity and all those things, who wouldn't want you as a manager? That's just like, yeah, no brainer. I want to tell you something. I'd love you as a manager. All right. Because, you know, you just tell me what you need done and I'll make sure it gets done. Boy, who doesn't want that person? You know, this is, you'd be insane not to want that person as a manager. And so, you know, to me, that's what I always found so interesting when I was working, Beth, which I never had to worry about going in at the, you know, the lower levels, because I knew I'd get promoted so fast it wasn't even funny. And I knew I'd upset a lot of people. Exactly. So, Beth, let me know what those terms were. And really, I'd recommend you send an email just confirming, saying, I have, you know, I just wanted to confirm that I have accepted this position based on the understanding that this, and that is what we agreed to during our meeting last month. And that I will get a minimum of this many hours or whatever it is that you agreed to, but that I will not be doing this, that, and the other. Oh, and now you're going to hire somebody to clean the buildings. Yes, I told you you'd be doing that. Didn't I tell you that? But yeah, I did. Okay, so here is the thing. How are you going to find somebody who has your work ethic and your and to do things your way? And that to me is really important, that you understand that nobody is going to do it the way you did it. You do understand that, right? And you can train them as much as you like, but if you're not there watching their every move, you do know that they will not clean the way that you do, because you are you and you do it a certain way in a certain time. For an average person to do what you do in the time that you do it, I think is impossible, quite honestly. And I just want to make sure you're clear on that. Because of your mentality and your work ethic and everything else that goes into it, Beth, you are unique. Does it make sense? So in terms of doing this, you know, I would, number one, obviously, yes, and you will pay them well and you're picky. Yes, you need to be picky for sure, but you also need to train them in your way and explain to them you've built the business because of the way that you clean. So this is not that they don't know how to clean. You need to teach them how to clean your way. Does that make sense? Because that's what you are selling. You're selling your results. And, you know, the way I'd like to describe it, Beth, is like, you know, an awful lot of people can make burgers, but the way that McDonald's trained their people to make burgers made McDonald's into a multi-international company. It's because they had, this is the system, this is how we do it, this is how we make fries. Yeah, not your way, this is our way, and that's the McDonald's way. Yes, Sakura, I agree with you that you would do very well to be trained by Beth. And yeah, exactly, Beth. Something I always had in my mind when I was managing other people: the staff respect what the boss inspects. Do you understand what that means? So if they know, by the way, there's a great book I'd like you to read, and it talks about how they manage cleaning staff in hotels. And basically what they have, Beth, and you may want to think about this, in each of your buildings, you have 3 of them, am I right? Seven. Okay. Here's what I would recommend you do. Think about this, Beth. And if you need help with it, let me know. Why don't you produce a worksheet for each building? All right. So it goes, on Tuesdays, this is what you do. And you literally get them to sign, initial that they've done it each week. All right. And that's, if you notice on the back of doors and places, you've got something's hanging where people are initialing it. What they've discovered is if you are asking people to actually sign for the fact that they have done it, all right, like a checklist, they do it better. And also, they don't have to think. They just keep working down the checklist. So do that for each of your buildings. It'll take a bit of time. And then go through the checklist and do it with them, all right? So show them how you get that done in the time and explain the shortcuts that you do. Because your shortcuts are not about doing less. Your shortcuts are about how to do more in less time. All right? That from everything I listen to you work so well and focused. Yeah, exactly, Beth. And that's why you are able to do the things you do. All right. And I think it's very exciting because I saw this coming a couple of months ago. And I told you, didn't I tell you this? And the first time they offered you a management job, I said to you, really think about this before you say yes. And then saying to you, you're going to get referrals and you're going to end up an entrepreneur on the buildings. And yes, and there's no reason at all why you cannot do both. All right, with the way that you think and the way that you do, and your ability to cope with overload. Boy, I would love your energy. There's part of me, Beth, that goes, maybe I should be drinking a Monster drink. Maybe it'll give me some energy. But I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be good for my heart. So I'm hoping that this cognitive journaling session has made some sense to those of you. The reason I'm mentioning that, Beth, is I was talking to somebody at lunch yesterday, and what they asked me was, had I cut back in terms of my eating, had I cut back on steak? And I said, yes, why? And they said, that's probably why you're not feeling very energetic. You've probably got an iron deficiency going on now, because you've always enjoyed your steaks and, you always had at least one a week. And I said, yeah, I did. Yeah, half of one. Yeah. And they said, well, you're probably going to find that your iron is low, and that's why you haven't got any energy. So I said, but I'm eating a lot of green stuff. And they said, no, it's not the same as steak, right? Steak has serious energy iron on it. So, part of what I'm looking at, and I was saying, but I'm taking this supplement and this, and they're going, yeah, but maybe you just need a steak. And I went, okay. And guess what I ordered for lunch, Beth? But I ordered a 6-ounce one, not the usual 12-ounce, right? So tonight I'm going to be showing you what this thinking does to your actions and your behavior. And this is not because I'm perfect. This is because I know it to be true. And that, you know, that if you can see that we create our own depression, we create our own frustration, we create our own, what's the word? When somebody picks on you, when you think somebody's picking on you, what's that word? Oh, I'll think of it later. Anyway, you know what I mean? It's like we create so many of these things because we don't change our thinking. And then how we behave, Kerry, the way we behave is a result of our thinking. And yet, if we can change our thinking, no, not bullying. When you think everybody is picking on you, not when they literally are, but when you think, what is that word? You imagine people are picking on you. Oh gosh, yeah. No, not teasing. I'll come up with it by later. Oh Lord, don't get old. It's horrible. The two brain cells are too tired to think of the name right now, so that's okay. So this is be gentle with yourselves. Don't say, I don't have the time to journal. Say to yourself, my mind is racing too fast and I am not in a good place. I need to slow down and start journaling so I can work out what my brain is trying to work out. Do you understand? The whole reason we get into this hyper situation is because our brains are trying to work out all the different instructions. And they're trying to get to the right answer for you, but you're not giving your brain enough time. And that's why it's whirring around like this. So to actually stop and write down, what am I thinking? Ask yourself the questions will slow you down, will help you get to the right answer more quickly. And it won't take you time. It will save you time. That is the whole reason why I think it's really important to look at not just journaling, but cognitive journaling, where you're asking yourself those questions. And I will put those questions into the notes below, and hopefully that will help some of you. And if it does, please let me know, because, you know, I always like to know that it's been a good process. Congratulations, Beth. Am I allowed to share that information with the rest of the world? And if so, I will put it up on Facebook. Let me know, because, you know, I won't do that unless you tell me I can, but I'm sure a lot of people will be very interested to hear that. Tonight, we will be talking about cognitive behavior, and that is where all this starts to play out in a whole different realm. Yes, I saw that. And congratulations. I did mention that at the beginning, that it was baby Lily's birthday on the 10th. And I welcomed her to our world. So I'm glad that everybody's home safely. And she really is so adorable. Just amazing. And I'm so happy that Lucas likes her. So I know you're going to make time to be with her as well. And just may she bring you all the happiness you want. Her birthday is 10/10. Yes. Good thinking there, Benny's. So cool. All right, everybody. Have a super afternoon. I will see you tonight. This is DearMamaSal saying, let's all just keep taking one step forward at a time, one bit more of understanding, and understand that we could do the same broadcast again in a month from now, and we'd learn even more from it. Do you understand that? Because what we're doing is we're building on the skills all the time. So big hugs to you all. Thank you so much for being part of this. Thank you. Don't worry about if you've got something you'd like me to talk about, leave a note in the comments, or just let me know through email or Facebook or whatever. And I will certainly do this. By the way, this broadcast is because one of you asked for this. Who was it that asked for this? Somebody specifically said, could I do a broadcast about cognitive journaling? And so whoever that is, you know who you are. Thank you, because I'm certain. Oh, it was Beth. Okay. And tonight, Beth, is the part that I think will also be very important to this, which is the cognitive behavior. All right, everybody. look after one another, but most of all, as usual, start with yourself. And when you get into too much of a whirlwind, start working it out with somebody, or start doing your own work, which would be cognitive journaling. This is Dear Mama Sal saying bye-bye for now. Thank you.